Daily Edition.
Knicks Daily Edition is right. All-Star Weekend is over. It's back to business for our boys. And I want to talk about how two Villanova bros changed the narrative around our coach, Tom Thibodeau. For years, playing for Tom Thibodeau came with a reputation. Brutal practices, marathon minutes, and defensive demands that could wear down even the most battle-hardened veterans. But if you ask some of his former players, you may also get a mixed bag of responses. Some would swear by his coaching, and then there's others who limped away swearing actually at him. But something funny happened when the man came to New York. A couple of years later, there were a couple of Villanova bros who followed him, Brunson and Hart. They showed up, they bought in, and suddenly Thibs didn't seem like such a taskmaster anymore. Instead, he was the guy who players wanted to play for. Now, how did this happen? How did a coach once known for running guys into the ground become a coach players ran towards? And that's what I want to look at. That's why this All-Star Weekend was important. The old Tom Thibodeau perception was that he was a drill sergeant in a sweatshirt. For most of his coaching career, Tom Thibodeau's reputation was as a rigid, defensive schemer. He first started to gain notoriety as the defensive architect of the 2008 Boston Celtics championship team. And then he took over for the Chicago Bulls in 2010. And that's where he quickly turned Derrick Rose into an MVP, Joakim Noah into a Defensive Player of the Year, Luol Deng into a man who led the league in minutes played until his legs begged for mercy. But with all that being said, the Bulls were a force. But still, with them being a force, the narrative around Tom Thibodeau was set. His teams played hard, they played defense, and they played a lot. Minutes were never spared. And these, well, those things were optional, okay? By the time he landed in Minnesota in 2016, though, that reputation had caught up with him. He tried to instill the same defensive mindset and that discipline into a young Timberwolves squad. But by that time, it didn't take. You had a young Karl Anthony Towns and a young Andrew Wiggins who weren't exactly wired like Jimmy Butler. And well, let's just say Jimmy let them know that. That infamous "they soft" practice saga that sealed Thibs' fate in Minnesota. And by 2019, Thibs was out of a job. It seemed like his old school methods were outdated in an era of LeBron James's load management and power empowerment. So when the Knicks hired him in 2020, the skeptics wondered, was Tom Thibodeau really going to change? Or was he just going to turn RJ Barrett into the next Luol Deng? But then something happened. We ended up getting a point guard named Jalen Brunson. And he would change everything. The Knicks were desperately in need of a point guard at that time. And Thibodeau was in desperate need of a guy who actually wanted to play hard for him. Then we got Jalen Brunson. He was unassuming, but he was an undeniable leader, forged in the fires of Villanova's championship culture. And from the moment Jalen Brunson stepped onto Madison Square Garden's floor, it was clear he was built differently. His footwork impeccable, his toughness undeniable, and his ability to actually make decisions in a half-court offense made us as Knicks fans wonder if we had been living in a basketball desert since Walt Frazier's heyday. But most importantly, Jalen Brunson embraced Tom Thibodeau's style. He didn't complain about minutes. He thrived in them. He didn't resist structure. He excelled in it. Thibodeau's famously high standards, that was normal to him. After all, he had spent 4 years under Jay Wright at Villanova, where accountability wasn't just a buzzword, it was a way of life. Jalen Brunson was built for this stage. Soon enough, Brunson wasn't just surviving under Thibs, he was flourishing. In his first year with the New York Knicks, he averaged 24 points and 6 assists. He led the team to the playoffs. He outdueled Donovan Mitchell in a first-round series that made us as Knicks fans collectively forget that we had been crying about not trading for Mitchell just a few months prior. And then we all saw that scene where he was getting his jersey retired and he saw the trade that Josh Hart had come to New York. Josh Hart then arrives in the Mecca, and then the Knicks level up, and then the league starts noticing. When the New York Knicks traded for Josh Hart in February 2023, it wasn't a flashy move, but it was a Thibs move. He's a guy who plays hard, he defends as if his life depended on it. He rebounds like a power forward despite being a 6'4" guard. And he does all the little things that don't show up in the box score. That's a Tom Thibodeau guy. With Josh Hart's arrival, that sparked an immediate turnaround. If y'all remember, the New York Knicks went 17-8 after acquiring him. And suddenly, our team had a different energy. We weren't just playing tough defense. We were flying up and down the basketball court, outworking teams, and playing with the kind of chemistry that made every possession feel personal. That chemistry was palpable from Villanova. And Hart fit into Thibs' system seamlessly because, like Brunson, he wanted to be coached hard. His response to playing under Tom Thibodeau? I love it. He said, the thing about Thibs, he's going to hold you accountable. He's going to push you. He's going to get the best out of you. And if you love basketball, that's all you can ask for. That's the tone that they set. That's the attitude that was missing from LeBron James's league, Adam Silver's league. And suddenly the Knicks weren't just a tough, scrappy team. We were a fun, tough, scrappy team. And around the league, now these stars were starting to notice. And then the perception would shift. Wait, playing for Tom Thibodeau is fun? For years, the biggest knock on Tom Thibodeau was that he burned players out. But with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, the opposite seemed to be happening. Now they were thriving in the system. They were playing heavy minutes and they were loving it. The 2023 playoffs only solidified that shift. The Knicks bulldozed the Cavaliers in the first round, outworking them, out-hustling them, a more talented team. Even in the second round, where we fell to the Heat, it was clear this wasn't the same old Knicks, Tom Thibodeau wears his guys out narrative. And then came Josh Hart's tweet during the offseason, this past offseason. Y'all be worried about minutes. We trying to win basketball games. That single tweet was a declaration of war on the old Tom Thibodeau perception. The idea that minutes were some kind of death sentence. That a media narrative. The players loved it. Brunson too. He made it clear that he was all in on Thibs' style. When asked about his relationship with the coach, he said, I appreciate Thibs because he trusts me. I know I'm going to play a lot of minutes, but I want that. I want to be in those moments. This wasn't just coach speak that was coming from the players. It was genuine. The Knicks weren't enduring Tom Thibodeau anymore. They were embracing him. And we've seen the noticeable difference. Thibs got personality. He loves these players. And the league's taking notice. The Knicks right now are a destination. Over the past year, there's been a noticeable shift in how players around the league talk about the New York Knicks. The days of stars avoiding Madison Square Garden like it was a haunted house are quickly fading. Even role players who might have hesitated to play for Thibodeau in the past are now seeing guys like Brunson, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, the Villanova boys, period, take over. And they're enjoying playing under him. So that perception has gone from playing for Thibs means getting run into the ground. And it's shifted to playing for Thibs means competing every night, getting better, and winning. And in the league, where winning solves everything. That shift is monumental because you could see the change in Karl Anthony Towns' attitude now. The Thibs redemption arc is now complete. Thibs is now seen as a player coach. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart didn't just change the Knicks. They changed Tom Thibodeau. Or maybe, more accurately, they finally gave him the kind of players who were built for his coaching style. But either way, the result is clear. The Knicks are back to being a respected, hard-nosed, competitive, championship-contending team. Thibs is no longer the boogeyman of the NBA coaches. Players around the league are watching, and some of them want in. And just like that, these Villanova bros helped pull off the greatest Tom Thibodeau coaching comeback story since ever. What say you? Keep this in mind. The same thing applies to life. That applies to our team. That applies to Coach Thibs. If there is no struggle, there's no progress. But remember this, whether it's out here in the real world or here in these YouTube streets, here in Knicks Daily, everybody eats. I'm your boy Sheer, and I'm out. Peace.